prisoner's letter from Fort Scott. Unearthed words, unveiled betrayal. On a warm spring afternoon in Kansas, beneath the creaking floorboards of a Civil War-era barracks, a letter was found. Its ink faded, but its message burning with urgency. Forgotten for over a century, this single sheet of paper would soon unravel the tightly woven fabric of Fort Scott's wartime past and reveal a betrayal that history had neatly tucked away. Fort Scott, a crossroads of conflict. Fort Scott sits at a pivotal place, both geographically and historically, on the border between North and South. During the Civil War, it was a critical Union outpost, a refuge for runaway slaves, and a launching point for campaigns into Confederate territory. Official records paint the fort as a bastion of loyalty, but the discovery of the prisoner's letter has cast new shadows across its storied walls. The letter was discovered by a team of restoration workers, tucked into a crack in the barracks foundation. The paper, brittle but still legible, bore the careful script of Private Eli Turner, a Union infantryman held in the fort's cramped makeshift jail in the spring of 1863. To whom may find this? The letter begins with a plea. If this letter should be found, let it be known I write not for vengeance but for truth. The days here are long and cold, but colder still is the betrayal of a friend. Eli Turner's words paint a vivid picture of life behind bars at Fort Scott, of meager rations, suspicion, and the constant fear of Confederate raids. But it is the betrayal he details that sets this letter apart from the usual hardships of war. The heart of the betrayal. Turner's account is both personal and damning. He writes of a fellow soldier, Corporal Matthew Harlan, whose friendship had been a lifeline since their enlistment. We shared bread and secrets, Turner writes, but it was his secret that undid me. According to Turner, Harlan was quietly passing information about Union troop movements and supply convoys to a Confederate sympathizer in the area, a crime that, if true, could have doomed an entire regiment. Turner described the moment of his downfall. I confronted him in the dark of the storeroom, voice low so as not to rouse the others. He begged me to keep silent, but how could I? The price of silence is the blood of my brothers. The next morning, Turner was arrested, accused, ironically, of being the traitor himself. Harlan's word, bolstered by forged evidence, was enough to tip the balance of suspicion. Turner was stripped of rank and confined, his appeals ignored by officers too busy or too weary to care. The letter's journey through time. The letter's final lines are a mixture of hope and heartbreak. If I do not leave this place alive, I pray that one day the truth will clear my name. Remember me not as a traitor, but as a man who chose loyalty over friendship. God forgive us all. For decades, the letter remained hidden, its testimony unheeded. But when it finally surfaced, it ignited a storm of debate among historians and descendants alike. Some dismissed Turner's story as the bitter ramblings of a disgraced soldier. Others saw in it a classic case of wartime scapegoating, when fear and confusion rendered justice impossible. New light on old shadows. Further research into muster rolls and military correspondence lent credibility to Turner's claims. Harlan, records show, was transferred out of Fort Scott soon after Turner's imprisonment, and later disappeared from both Union and Confederate records. His fate is mysterious as the motives that drove him. Descendants of both men were drawn into the story, searching family letters and diaries for clues. One great-great-granddaughter of Turner, Mary Ellis, described the letter's impact. To hold his words in my hands was to feel his heart break. It changed what I thought I knew about our family and about the war itself. History rewritten. Today, Turner's letter is preserved in the Fort Scott National Historic Site, displayed under glass beside documents detailing the fort's official history. Visitors pause before the faded page, reading the words that once might have cost a man his life. The story has inspired novels, lectures, and a renewed interest in the complicated truths hidden beneath the surface of America's past. The prisoner's letter reminds us that history is never finished, never as simple as the records suggest. For every celebrated hero, there are voices lost to time, waiting to be heard. And sometimes all it takes is a hidden letter in the dust to bring their stories and their truths into the light.